Something has happened over the past month or so that it really seems like Game Freak is making their master plan into motion, and this includes the old Pokemon games. When we speak on old Pokemon games, this usually tends to go for the GBA games, the DS games, and potentially the 3DS games. But all of those things aside really make for a fantastic opportunity. In this video, we'll be discussing everything for the old Pokemon games and what exactly is happening. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so about a day ago, Nintendo had their financial sort of discussion and meeting, and right now we know what their games are looking like, what sells and what didn't sell so well. And one of the games that really did sell is A, Pokemon Pokepia, and B, Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. Now these are two massive things that we really have to discuss, because Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green could lead into Game Freak getting the idea of, you know what, since this works, since the audience wants this, we don't really have to put that much time and effort into it, so might as well re-release it. Now, it's also the 30th anniversary of Pokemon, and this is pretty fantastic. And Pokemon did say that this was going to be a year-long celebration. So, what's better than to re-release these old games, the fan-favorite games, the games that everyone wants to see? And I honestly see this before. Now, this has happened before with Game Freak, the Pokemon Company, and Nintendo themselves. The three corporations that really make that whole triforce of Pokemon games, or Nintendo, or things that work really well. So usually, if Nintendo will see that a game works out really good, well then they're probably just going to keep making remasters and another remaster and carry on. That pretty much happened back on the Wii U or even the 3DS when you had the Virtual Console. They saw that the game worked out really well, so what did they do? Just kept re-releasing old games so you could go out and buy the game once again. Or not technically go out, but instead purchase it on the Nintendo eShop. So honestly, this is fantastic, and this is probably the way that their plan is into motion. It's not by having 50, 60 different games that are really going to bring them a lot of attention, but instead looking back at the games that really made everyone happy. Even if you started with the original Game Boy, so Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue, they'll probably bring some recognition to those games at some point. Now I honestly think that this is how they could do it. So for the Game Boy games, they could sell it for like $15 a pop if they wanted to. So that includes Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Crystal, Silver, and Gold. Now these are all games that they could definitely sell for like $15 because they're not like the big games that everyone shines upon. I mean, they could easily just sell them for $20 as well, but $15 seems more of the reasonable price for those games, especially if they're not going to touch them. When it comes to the GBA games, they could easily get away with $20. That works perfectly fine. And then when it comes to the DS games, $30 because they'll have to figure something out with the second screen. But besides that, all these games returning would make the most sense. Now if we look at the 30th anniversary, since it's going to be a year-long celebration and we don't have Pokemon Winds and Waves or even any Pokemon game to look out to, it seems like when we get the next Pokemon Presents, not only are they going to share information on what's to come, potentially Winds and Waves, although there was a leak and rumor that we aren't going to be getting any more information. I don't quite buy that, but they're going to have some discussion on Wind and Waves, and then we're most likely going to be seeing what's next for Pokemon. So probably another GBA game. This could easily be Generation 3 with Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. Now honestly, that would be fantastic for that time. Probably most people would go straight to Emerald. What they could easily do is sell Ruby and Sapphire each for about $20 and then go straight to Emerald for like $30 because they know that that's going to sell. But overall, I definitely think that this is what they're looking at because we know Game Freak, we know how much they like the doubloons, they really like the money, so they're probably going to look at this and say, yep, you know what, since Fire Red and Leaf Green sold so well, we are going to make sure to replant some of these games so everyone can have a fun time with these amazing masterpieces. Then later on, maybe either late 2026, they can say, okay, DS games are coming, there you go. Now, there was some talks and discussion about a full bundle of these games. Now, although I think this would be pretty fantastic to see these games on store shelves, it might be a little bit interesting for them to do. On one hand, $20 for a Pokemon game could work. On the other hand, would they actually sacrifice their $20 to put them into a bundle and sell it for $80 instead? I don't know, it's definitely really interesting when it comes to the Pokemon Company Game Freak, but that definitely would be a fantastic 30th anniversary celebration if they decide to do something like that. But overall, I definitely think that something is happening with Pokemon, and this is just part of the master plan. When it comes to Pokemon Pokopia, you can realize that there's definitely a trend going on here. Maybe they're going to start actually sending their games out to other developers and other companies to help them out, like directly help them out with the next game. So then you can get games that just randomly blow up and you make it super, super nice. Like Pokemon Pokopia, however you want to say it. That game really came out of nowhere. It was honestly really crazy how that game came out of complete nowhere, and all of a sudden, boom, it's right there. And it's like one of the best-selling Nintendo Switch 2 games for that month, which was honestly really, really fantastic and considered a system seller, which doesn't really happen too often with a spin-off Pokemon game. So overall, that right there is definitely awesome. And when it comes to the old games, they're probably coming back because this just sent a massive signal to them. Okay, this works. Clearly, if they already haven't heard the outcry, well, now there's more outcry and more signals directly in front of them saying these games actually sold well. So why wouldn't we re-release these games instead of let them rot on other platforms? Rot on the 3DS, rot on the Wii U, rot on whatever platform had the old Pokemon games. And honestly, there you go. You would have a big stack of cash, a big stack of change to actually do something with if you really wanted to. Maybe work on the next game, hire more developers work on a different game, make Pokemon the best that it possibly can be. Right now, Winds and Waves is looking awesome, and maybe they're having all the time and effort going into that game right now and not really focusing on other games. But imagine how great this would be for them to actually just go back, allow us to play old Pokemon games. One that I really want to see is Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I honestly think that that would be awesome to actually play that once again. Playing it in 2026 would be amazing, and you know what they could easily add is do something like all the original events inside of all these older games, or have something to do with old events. This might not be originally how it was, but something completely different. You might get them right off the bat unlocked, or you might have to do little challenges inside the game to get those events, or elsewhere, Pokemon Home, whatever the case may be. That would be honestly awesome, and I hope that this happens. I hope that Game Freak's master plan is into motion. Looking at these final financial records, it seems like this is actually going to be happening, because it would be really foolish to not do anything with these very high sales. Very high sales for old Pokemon games. Like, honestly, it's really crazy. So overall, what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section down below, and thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Consider hit the like button, maybe subscribing if you're new. We do a bunch of different Nintendo content on this channel. Consider check out my Pokemon channel, pretty much about Winds and Waves leaks. Yeah, that one's interesting. Anyways, thank you so much. See you in the next one.